I don't know what I'm going to talk about because I am a person who speaks from my heart, so it depends on the audience. But I like questions. I'm very spontaneous, and I'm authentic. I'm genuine. I really believe in the power of encouragement. And in order to encourage somebody, you have to have courage. You cannot encourage anybody unless you come from a place of courage. So we have to define the word. What does courage mean? Well, it comes from the Latin word cor, and for our Spanish-speaking friends, you know corazon means your heart. So the Latin derivation of the word courage means you have heart. That's what it means. It shouldn't be confused with bravado, which is imitation courage. But it comes from the heart and it stems from love. That's why you don't pick on children in front of their moms, because they have love. That's what courage is about. You'll know courage when you're around courageous people, and it will affect you. You will feel courageous when you're around them. And you'll know cowardice too, because cowardice is infectious. You can catch it. So stay away from people who discourage you, who are negative, who are bemoaners and whiners. Stay away from them. You're not going to help them by getting discouraged. So you want to have a good attitude. How can you have a good attitude? Well, I'll tell you how. I'm going to tell you right now how you can have a good attitude. Understand what the word means. Attitude comes from the Latin word aptitudinus. And that means that you have the aptitude for something. But what is that? Your aptitude. Your attitude affects your aptitude because they come from the same root. A person with a bad attitude is not apt to learn anything. And I'm going to teach you how you can have a better attitude, because a good attitude is what it means to be courageous. And we need a good attitude. So how many here would like to have a better attitude? Show of hands. All right, I'm going to tell you how to do it. You look at the word attitude and you go to a dictionary and then you check out the origin of the word, and you're going to be surprised what attitude means. It's not your mentality. It isn't optimism. It is primarily your physicality, your stance. So you stand straight and you have a good posture. That is a good attitude. It is used in aeronautics. It's called the attitude of aerodynamics. It's how the plane is. So a plane that's going down like this is not a good attitude if you want to go that way. If you want to land, that's a good attitude. But if you want to keep going, that's a bad attitude. If you want to go up, this is the good attitude. It's used in architecture. So if we want to have a good attitude, we want to have a good posture, we want to put our heads up, and we want to smile. But you tell me, I don't feel like that, Jack. I don't feel happy, and I don't feel like that at all. The mentality comes from the physicality. That's what a good attitude means. So it is not a matter of being a hypocrite when you don't feel good, but you act like you're happy. It means that you are a person of courage. That is called a courageous act. You act as if you are happy. See, that's the goal for all of us. If you really want to be successful in life, be happy. Now, how can you be happy? I'll tell you how. Be happy. It is a being. It is something you do. There is no way to happiness. Happiness is the way. What does the word happiness mean? If you look it up, it comes from the Old English word hap. And hap means lucky. It means lucky. How many of you here feel lucky? Can I see a show of hands? Well, some of you may not feel too lucky. You say, yeah, Jack, I got luck, but it's all bad. Well, this is suggesting having good luck, and you can attract good luck. It's your attitude for it, because all of us have things to be happy about. All of us can point to things, chances that we had that made our life happy, and that's what we focus on. So most of my friends are positive people, and I like to be around them, and I'm looking for positive attitudes. Now, if you don't know what I do for the trust fund, I have a very difficult job. I'm a bill collector. And I go after sometimes millions of dollars with one company that they owe to the trust fund. And they get testy. when they owe millions of dollars, and almost everybody I talk to disagrees. We don't owe that money, prove it. And they get these attitudes, really tough attitude. I had one guy tell me, he says, "You West Coast wimp." He was from New Jersey. He says, "I don't need that touchy-feely type of West Coast stuff with you. I need to talk to somebody who's a decision maker." Well, I tell you what, I encouraged him. And after a few minutes of encouraging him, he changed his attitude completely. Because this is what I told him. I'm only acting here, by the way. I said, "Look, Mac, you think you're tough? You couldn't last 2 minutes in South Central, so don't give me that East Coast stuff, okay? Now listen up. We can do it the hard way or we can do it the right way. Which do you want to do?" I'm completely acting when I did this. So I'm speaking his language. All of a sudden he thinks, this guy's a pretty nice guy. Because I'm speaking his language, but I wouldn't want this person for my associate. Too negative for me. So I look for people with good attitudes. So I'm at the car wash a few months ago, and there's this guy. He's the happiest guy. I just love him. He's putting the gas in there, and he's dancing while the gas is going there. And he has his the cleaner there for the windows. He's cleaning the back windows, the side windows, and the front windows, and he's whistling and singing in between. I thought, this is great. I got to talk to this person. So I said, "Man, you sure got a good attitude." He says, "Yeah, only 6 months more to Christmas." Now, that's a good person. Now, we learned about cancer here today, and I talked to Roman when he retired last week, and Roman had an illness that could have caused his death. He was in terrible, terrible health a couple decades ago. He couldn't even keep his head up. Everything about his physiology was negative. But Roman says there's 2 things that helped him: his attitude and his sense of humor. He has a naturally good attitude and a natural good sense of humor. And this is so important. And I'm going to tell you something that most people don't know in this room. In 1985, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's disease, and I was told that I only had a few months of life left. Well, I've been a meditator for many decades, and one of the things that I had meditated on was my final exit. How am I going to exit this planet? And I tell you how I want to exit this planet: with a smile on my face, and I want to be happy, because I don't want to leave my wife because she's sad. So I got to be up, up, up. So when I found this out, I said, I got to come to Bricky, and I got to make this thing as positive as I can. So I told her I was going to die, and I tell you, she crumbled. And I had all the answers for her. I know I got money I'm going to do, and we're going to do this, we're going to have this. And she just crumbled. And it was just so tough, and I had to change my whole attitude on this. And I said, well, rather than to die happy, I'm going to live happy. So whatever it takes, I'm going to beat this thing. And I started studying meditation and holistics and happiness, and it affected my life tremendously, to the point I just wanted to tell everybody the things that I've learned. And I've learned so much. So one of the things that I learned was about happiness and health. You want to be happy. A lot of people think, I need to be wealthy. Well, you are wealthy. Know what the word means. If you go to the etymology of the word wealth, it comes from the same root as the word health, which comes from the same root as the word heal, which comes from the same root as the word healthy, whole, holy, holistic. They're all related. They all come from the exact same root. Know that when you're happy, know that when you're holy, know that when you're holistic, know that when you have a good picture of where you want to be, and where you want to be is where you are now. Doesn't matter your past. Your biology does not dictate your destiny. Your biography doesn't dictate your destiny. You choose your attitude. And if at first you feel that your attitude is lacking, that's okay. You can change it now by pretending that you have a good attitude. But you're not pretending when your physiology is erect and you're standing straight and you have a smile. That's called faith, that's called goodness, that's called encouragement, that's helping the other person. I tell everybody, how you doing, Jack? Super good, but I'll get better. Outstanding, but improving. I don't even know if I mean that, but I've said it for so long, I like what I hear. So you do that. So what I'd like you to do as an exercise, I'd like you to stand up for a second. And if you would, I want you to fake a laugh. Make the laugh is like I said something really funny. Just fake it, okay? A little more, not too genuine. Oh, a little bit more. Okay, very good. You know what I noticed? Your fake laughs became genuine laughs. You may be seated. Have you ever known anybody who had everything together? They were handsome or beautiful, young and wealthy, famous and had a lot of people who loved them, had it all, and yet were miserable. Have you ever known anybody like that? Any names come up, famous people? Elvis Presley, Marilyn Monroe, Freddie Prinze. Remember Freddie Prinze?
Yeah.
Committed suicide because he felt his life was so miserable. Have you ever known anybody that it seemed from outward appearances everything was going against them and yet they were happy? Anne Frank, I could think. I have so many different people that come to mind whose lives were miserable, and then through their attitude, they changed everything. I was on the deathbed of a friend, and she was in her late 80s, and everything that could be wrong with her, she had. And I went up to her, and she had a terrific attitude. And I said, "Helen, how you doing?" She said, "I'm doing good. I'm doing really good." "Any pain?" "Oh, no, I'm not any pain." I said, "Really? That's so fantastic. That's so good. I love you, Helen." And then I left. I went to the doctors. I said, "I don't know what you're doing for her, but it's working. Keep it up." And the doctors told me, "She's in a lot of pain. She doesn't want you to know." And I thought, what a courageous person. But perhaps because of that attitude, it mitigated our lesson, her pain. It's something for us to take as an example. There's always something to be grateful for. There's always something to be happy for. You can always grow even on your deathbed. There's a beautiful book by Tolstoy called The Life of Ivanovich. And in there, here's a man on his deathbed, decided he lived his whole life incorrectly. He lived for the wrong things, but he made a transformation in his view on how he was going to die, and he was not going to die unhappy. We can do the same thing. I've been with people who have been very sick. I've been with people who have died. I've been with people who had tremendous peace on their deathbed. We can have that. So what I do, this is my timer here. That means I'm finished. But what I do is I meditate. I meditate every single day. And let me tell you just quickly how you can meditate. Meditate comes from the same Latin root as the word medicate. Your body can produce some really great chemicals. There's at least 5 happy chemicals that your body can produce that can beat any type of street drug. It can be much more powerful. Because I'm a high guy, and I tell you, I don't do any type of outside chemicals rather than the one I have within. And I know how to tap into it, but you can do it through meditation. Here's some of the meditations that I do. I go and I close my eyes. I actually lay down, but I can do it standing up. You can have your eyes open. But I go back and I look at the traumas in my life, and to quote James Taylor, I've seen fire and I've seen rain. That's some really tough traumas in my life. And I go back and I edit them. And I edit my traumas and I make them better. And then I edit some of my bad decisions and I make them better. I've been doing this for years. And in my meditations, I become the richest man in the world because I made all these great investments back in 1980 and I bought Apple and I did all this type of stuff. And so I go through these meditations, but I ultimately come back to where I am now is where I want to be. All those other things doesn't matter. So I do this. This is a sense memory. I also do this as a meditation. I close my eyes and I remember emotions like security, like happiness. The ultimate point for success is serenity, just so you know this. Serenity is the foundation for happiness. Happiness is the foundation. Joy is the temporary expression of it. When you jump up for joy, that's temporary. It's just an expression. But happiness is a foundation. You can be happy and sick. You can be happy and been diagnosed with cancer, and you can be happy when someone says you're going to die. You can defy that, and if you can't defy it, you can defy negativity and unhappiness. You can be happy under any circumstances. Before I go, I got to meet Carol Channing, very famous Broadway actress. She wrote a book. It's called Just Lucky, I guess. It was the story of her life story, and she has a very positive attitude. I asked